All right, boys and girls, welcome back to episode 7 of the Miller Brothers podcast. Sorry we missed last week. Pretty busy week for all of us, but we're here back with another episode. Anything, Eli? Anything you want to say to the people?
Get into it.
All right, Eli. A lot to cover this week. We missed a lot from last week, but we'll start probably the same way we started last episode. But we're going to start with Florida State. Florida State is an absolute dumpster fire right now.
Not a good football team, dude. Not a good football team. Their quarterback is no good. Their offensive line is no good. Their defense is not bad. I mean, they only gave up 20 points or however many they gave up this past weekend. But DJ can't throw it down the field 10 plus yards. He made one really good pass, I believe, on Saturday, but they were down 20-3, and that was like the only good pass he made. They were sending three-man rushes and sacking him. They were sending four-man. He takes too long in the pocket. Like, it doesn't matter how bad the offensive line is. Even if they could block, it didn't matter. He's not going to do what he needs to do to get the job done. So they're in trouble. They're 0-3. They'll be lucky to even make a bowl game this year. So rough start. Florida State fans were expecting to make the playoff this year and win the ACC. That's not going to happen. So rest in peace, Florida State, and this is only week 3.
Yeah, I saw a lot of people saying they're mathematically eliminates the rest in peace of their playoff chances. I saw one statistic says they're the 9th team in history to start out in the AP top 10 and lose the first 3 games of the season. So that's crazy. I just looked it up while you were talking, and Memphis got paid, according to this website from the Tallahassee Democrat. It says Florida State owes Memphis $1.3 million for Saturday's game, and Memphis is expected to make the college football playoff as a group of 5 team, and they paid them $1.3 million to come in and beat them. And so, I mean, they started the year off with 2 ACC games, and then they paid Memphis 1.3, and Memphis was supposed to be the whipping dog, and Memphis came in, and so it's crazy to look at that. If you're looking at the landscape of college football right now, those smaller teams are giving the Power Four teams a lot of trouble,
Yeah.
and Memphis is going to give a lot of people trouble as we get into the season.
Yeah, DJ was like in the first quarter he was like 5 of 7 for 7 yards or something and an interception. Like it just wasn't good. It just wasn't good. And I hate it for him, but that's just how it is for him.
Yeah, they're a dumpster fire right now. Unfortunately, we've got to talk about this. Auburn losing to Cal was an absolute embarrassment last week. An absolute embarrassment. What were your thoughts on that game?
Quarterback play was terrible. Accountability from the head coach is awful. Um, it just all around wasn't good. The communication wasn't good. The offensive line wasn't good. Um, they ran the ball well in the second half and then decided they wanted to throw it. And then every time Peyton Thorne stepped back, he was either getting hit or he was throwing an interception. It all relied around that offense. I mean, the defense struggled in the first half, but it was because they were on the field for most of the first half. That second half, they only gave up 7 points, and it was off a fumble. They got the ball at like the 40 and scored. So defensively, I wasn't that mad. It was offensively, Peyton Thorne throwing 4 interceptions. People are trying to tell me they're not all 4 on him. The RPO, he led Cam Coleman way out further than it needed to go. Now, Cam Coleman will tell you, I need to catch that football, but it's still a bad pass to a dude that was wide open. Got hit throwing one. The receiver he was throwing to was open for 3 seconds before he threw the football. So he got hit. And then the jump ball at the end of the game, Cam Coleman was hurt, calling to get off the field. And they didn't put anybody in for him. And then Peyton Thorne throws it up to him. I mean, you got to get real with what we're doing. That's why Hank Brown started this weekend. And 100% as he should. And I'm tired of, I've seen a couple of people say, oh, this whole family narrative is going out the drain because you want another quarterback. No, this guy wasn't good last year. He's not good this year. Do I hate Peyton Thorne? No. Is he a good quarterback? Not at the moment. There's a difference between hating somebody and wanting what's best for your team. I don't wish a harmful thing to Peyton Thorne ever. And if he comes back and he's better next week, if he plays against Arkansas, so be it. If Hank Brown can't get it done. I'm fine with it. At this moment in juncture, how he played against North or California, he didn't he didn't deserve to start this past weekend. So really, offensively is where I draw the line for that game because they lost by 7 and they turned the ball over 5 times. Just hang on to the football and you win the football game. You did just fine on the first drive, and see, not every route has to be 40 yards down the field either. And so for your coach to have to say, "Oh, going into week 3, we're gonna simplify the offense," I don't understand why you think you have to run 20 different pass plays and they're all like 4 verts. Looks like me playing NCAA football against a 6-year-old. Just running straight go routes and let's throw the ball. That's stupid. It's unrealistic football, and that's why they got beat. This week they played a lot better. Not really that good. I don't think Auburn's a very good football team. But we can get into the New Mexico game later if we want to. But it was a total embarrassment. From year 1 to year 2, you were expecting something different and you didn't get it.
Yeah, it really was a simple breakdown of Peyton Thorne played terrible and the coaches on offense didn't make any adjustment. I honestly, I know we talk during the games, me and Dad, we talk through the games every week, and Auburn secondary truly is weak, but I like the adjustments they make in the second half because in every game the defense has gotten better in the second half. They really have. They gave up a lot of yards and a lot of points to New Mexico State yesterday as we're recording this, but they didn't give up. Maybe they gave up one touchdown in the second half, maybe, and that was when like the second stringers were in and getting some reps, and towards the end of the game. And so I like the way the defense makes the adjustments in the second half. Now, if you're going to win games, you can't wait till halftime to make those adjustments. You have to come into the game prepared and ready to play. But I don't like how we're supposed to be this elite front six, front seven, and we're running three down linemen with Jalen McLeod and Austin Keys dropping back in coverage every other play. Those guys need to. Those two guys are two of our best pass rushers, and we've got them hanging back in coverage. They've proven this year not including last year, but they've proven this year they can get to the quarterback when they want to. And we're dropping them
Yeah.
back in coverage makes no sense. Makes no sense. I understand we've got to drop more than we should. Well, put a different cover guy in and let Jalen McLeod put his horns back and go get the quarterback. And so, or put his ears back, not his horns back, put his ears back. And so it's just a breakdown on coaching. It really was. We got to make adjustments sooner, and by we I mean Hugh Freeze. And he made the adjustment and chose to go with Hank Brown. I really think he gave in to pressure. I think he gave in to
Yeah.
pressure from the fan base. Went with Hank Brown, and it turned out to be a good decision this week. Hank Brown made a lot of good reads and a lot of good decisions. Now it is New Mexico. Their defense is like ranked second to last, I think is what you said in NCAA this year or something like that. Their defense is not good, but he took what the defense gave him and he made the right reads. Part of being an elite quarterback is taking what the defense gives you. I saw a breakdown today from an Aaron Rodgers from the Jets Titans game. Aaron Rodgers saw that the safety was coming down and he's like, "Oh, okay. We're going to switch our run to this side." That seems to me like a simple quarterback decision. And Hank Brown made a lot of decisions. He checked out a one play yesterday. He saw the blitz was coming, so he switched to slants. Now he missed the throw, but he made the right call because the guy was wide open. He just rushed the throw and missed it. And so I like a lot of what I saw from Hank Brown yesterday, but I think it's gonna be tough against Arkansas because Arkansas has a lot to prove in their first SEC game, and they're gonna come out and try to hit Auburn in the mouth. And if Auburn's not ready, they're gonna get hit in the mouth, and they're not gonna be able to come back from it.
Yeah. An interesting stat to throw out there before we move on. Peyton Thorne was 1 for 6 on yards 15 plus, or 1 for 6 on passes 15 plus yards down the field last week with a couple of picks. Hank Brown, and this had not been finalized when I read it. He was 5 for 5 with a touchdown on throws 15 plus yards down the field. So that helps. Also, they were able to run the football yesterday. They got to hang on to the football though. They fumbled multiple times. One of them was recovered by New Mexico State, and then the other one we got on top of. Got to hold on to the football. Jarquez ran for over 100 yards, but Hugh Freeze leaned on him, gave him 20 plus carries for only the second time in his career. I mean, I'm tired of this whole balance thing. You know, Hank unfortunately finished the first half out going like 1 for 6 or 1 for 9, but then he came out in the second half and completed 8 passes in a row. So you like that confidence kind of built for him. Arkansas is a different animal though. They're coming off a tight game with UAB, so it'll be interesting to see. I'm a little nervous about it. We'll be there. I'll be there. Um, I'm gonna go down there Friday. So hopefully they'll win, but it is definitely going to be tough because that's a good Arkansas offense that we're going to have to stop.
You gonna try to go to the Auburn High game?
Yeah, I'm gonna hit the Duck on Friday night if we get there in
Who they
town.
playing?
I don't even remember, but I think they play like Jag, which is used to be one of the teams in Montgomery. They changed the name, so should be an
I
easy
got
win.
you. Yeah,
Uncle Scott's got that defense playing well. They only gave up 1 touchdown against Enterprise Friday night, so they're exciting too.
they stomped all over Enterprise.
Yeah,
They stomped
Auburn
all over them.
University can
Uh,
Auburn University's going to let me down, but Auburn High they don't usually. Number 3 in the state for a reason, for sure.
and they don't normally let you down to the state championship game. Of course, that coach is gone. I digress.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
never kneel 3 times and punt with a minute left. Just don't do it.
Yeah.
Um, that one stings. Um, anyway, moving on. Just wanted to talk about Auburn recruiting a little bit. Have you seen what that guy from Elba is doing this right now?
Yeah, now the 10 touchdown game last week was a little stupid because there was no defense on the field. McKenzie ended up winning that game like 80-78. Still impressive that Henderson ran for 10 touchdowns, but 2A football in Alabama or one they may have dropped to 1A, I don't know. It's 2A, I believe. It's not what it used to be, which it never has been like crazy. But yeah, I mean impressive. He's ran for 17 touchdowns in 3 games, 4 games. So it's insane for sure.
Yeah, it's video game numbers. I wish I had my phone right now. I'd look up the tweet, but it was his name's Alvin Henderson for Elba. He literally has over 1,500 yards rushing 3 or 4 games into the season with 17 touchdowns. It's ridiculous. But in that game where he scored 10 touchdowns, he had 45 carries, 40 or 45 carries. You get the ball that much, but see, their whole offense is the wishbone. I don't know if you've seen any
Yep.
film on it. It's wishbone. It's
Uh,
literally handoff right, handoff left, handoff down the middle. Oh, we're just going to toss it to him in the flat, which is just an extension of the run. So, I mean, he's only 5'8". He's going to be a Sean Shivers type running back, but I mean, we're excited to see what he
he
can
can
do on
make
the
plays.
plains. I think he's the biggest recruiter for Deuce Knight right now. Um,
Yeah. I
who's
think
going to
that ship has
be
sailed. I don't think we're getting him.
that's I mean, he's been at Auburn 2 out of the last 3 weeks.
Yeah, but
So,
last week that all wore off.
yeah. Yeah, that loss to Cal didn't help anything, but it was you could see the potential in the receivers because it wasn't the receivers' fault Auburn lost. They can't blame it on receivers anymore because
No.
Auburn has some of the best receivers, and those guys have proven it this year. Not just the freshmen, not just Cam Coleman, but the transfers and Cam Brown. It's Camden
And Brown
and
looked good
Brown.
last night.
He looked good. He's looked good this year. I mean, last
Yeah.
year we thought he was terrible, but he looks good this year. So
Yeah, that's because they throw him the
it's
football too, so that helps.
that's true. Yeah, I mean, when the quarterback hits you in the chest on a slant and has some zip on it, you should catch that. I mean, you have no choice. That ball hit him in the middle of the number, and you have no choice but to catch that. So, excited to see how they do against uh, Arkansas. I know Arkansas is not, Alabama, Georgia, or anything, but it's good to see. It's good uh, practice or good experience leading up to those games. Because you got Arkansas this week, Oklahoma next week, and then
The
it's at
onslaught of road
Georgia,
games.
or is there a week between? Yeah,
I
and
think
then
it's at
all
Georgia
road
and then a
games
week.
in
Yeah.
October. So anyway, a game that happened week 2, Texas stomped all over Michigan. Now Michigan did lose a lot of starters. I think the final number I ended up hearing was 18 starters from last year, but everybody thought they were going to be this elite team this year, and they didn't look like it against an elite Texas team. What were your thoughts on that game?
I don't have much to say about Michigan. They're not good. That's all I got to say. They're not a good football team. Their quarterback's not very good. So they'll next year they can just go ahead and look for next year because it's Ohio State's year in that division. So in that conference. So nothing to say on Michigan other than they're not very good.
Yeah, and everybody was interested to see how the Texas defense would look without their two defensive tackles returning, and I think they're fine. I
Yeah,
think
they're good.
from the way Georgia's played, from the way Georgia played last or yesterday against Kentucky, it could very well Texas could run away with this conference and possibly win the national championship if they stay out of trouble. Because Georgia can't stay out of trouble; their players are
Yeah.
always getting arrested, and then yesterday they struggled with Kentucky. Now they Georgia got lucky because they had a pick six called back, but um, you go off on that for a second. I'll be right back.
Now that he's gone, let's talk football, folks. So we look at Kentucky and Georgia. Carson Beck really. Oh, there's a dog. Look at that. Georgia didn't look great. Obviously, I mean anybody that watched that game could see it. But if y'all don't remember, like these last few years, Kirby's had games like that where they barely snuff it out. They barely sneak through a win. Kentucky, not a good football team, but they got Georgia. Georgia looking ahead to Alabama. Everybody knows that. 2 weeks from today, Georgia, or 2 weeks from yesterday, Georgia and Alabama and Bryant Denny. So I'm not too worried about Georgia. I don't think Texas is going to run away with the conference either. I think they'll be good. I think they are the number one team in the country. But Georgia's going to be fine. They'll be fine. And Kentucky gave them a run for their money, but that's nothing to worry about. That happens every now and then anyway. So yeah,
Yeah, there's just a lot of bad officiating over the weekend. You got the pick six called back now in every game, I think, but that one, that's a pick six. The ball was clearly into the guy's hands. It popped up, and they ran with it. That was pick six by any stretch of the imagination. And then I think it was the Florida Texas A&M game where the guy jumped up in the air, caught the ball, and then the defender came in head first and hit him, and he got called for targeting. Hit him in the hip. Hit him in the hip. It wasn't even close to the
yeah.
head or neck area, which is I think it's forcible contact to the head or neck area with the crown of your helmet. I think that's the letter of the law, unless they magically changed it
They
over the
change it
week.
all the time. There's no telling.
And so they caught him for targeting on that one. And then the Auburn game, when Alston fumbled, Demar
That
Alston
was
fumbled.
targeting.
He literally got hit with the crown of the helmet on the chin, and his neck did that right there. So you never know what's going to be called for targeting. It's so judgmental, and it's supposed to be done by the replay guy up in the booth. He's supposed to be looking for all this stuff, and it's like, okay, are you not looking at this? What are we doing? And then they call the one where the guy gets hit in the hip, where he gets up and
It's
runs
all
off.
opinionated.
I just, it's all opinion. I don't understand it at all. I don't understand it at all. So next up, Notre Dame. They're such a fickle team. They go to Texas A&M and Kyle Field, and they kind of impose their will. Now Texas A&M did put up a good showing, but they imposed their will. They were the more physical team. They showed that they can be a good team, and then they go home and they lose to Northern Illinois. And you're like, okay, what's going on here? They just overlooked this opponent, whatever, and then they go and hang 70 something points on Purdue. Ended up beating them by I think it was 66, and you're like, okay, what are they doing here? I think that's the largest home loss in Purdue history. So what's your thoughts on Notre Dame right now?
Notre Dame is still a playoff team unless they lose one more game. If they lose two games and one of them's to Northern Illinois, they'll be done. I think that Northern Illinois just did everything right. I think that they looked at what they needed to do to beat Notre Dame and they followed their game plan to a T. Like if you look at the post game interview with the coach from Northern Illinois, he told Marcus Freeman, he said, if you want help, I've got you. And what he was saying was, if you want to know what we saw on film to be able to neutralize your offense and beat y'all, then I can help you. And Marcus Freeman took him up on the offer. And I think that's why they played better against Purdue because those weaknesses that Northern Illinois saw, they told Marcus Freeman what it was, and they said, "Here, this is what we did to beat y'all. So this is what you need to do to be able to, not let this happen again." And so that helps. And then also they were overlooking them. I mean, it's just what it is. There's no other explanation than they just didn't prepare like they should have for Northern Illinois. But they prepared well for Purdue, and that's why they beat their eyes out. So, and plus Purdue's not very good either.
No, they're not.
But Marcus Freeman knows that they can't lose another game now. Losing to Northern Illinois and you're a one-loss independent, you'll be fine. But if they lose 2 games, with how their schedule looks, they're not making the playoffs. And Marcus Freeman knows that, and that's why they played so well this week.
I would agree with that, and I make the correction. Notre Dame won 66-7. It's the largest loss in Purdue history, and it's the most points they've ever given up. Michigan struggled with Arkansas State yesterday. Next up, let me see what I got on my agenda. Alabama, Wisconsin. That's a tough game to speculate on. I think Alabama showed that they're in it this year and that they're going to be a really good team. But you can play the what if game now. What if Van Dyke doesn't get hurt? How does the rest of that
Van
game
Dyke
play
don't play
out?
defense.
Yeah, but is the
They
offense more
couldn't stop the
competitive, which puts pressure on
yeah,
Alabama's offense?
but they couldn't stop the downfield pass. And not only could they not stop the downfield pass, the best offense Alabama has is Jalen Miller running the football. And so I don't think, I mean, I think that Wisconsin would have scored a little bit more, but it's still the Big Ten. It's still Big Ten football. It's not like they were going to hang 30 points with Alabama. 25, 22, 23 points. Okay, let's be for real. You don't score 23 in football. So if Bama scored 3 touchdowns, if they scored 21 points, they'd have won that football game. All they had to
Yeah,
do first, if they got to 21, it was over because Wisconsin was not scoring more than 20 points.
right. I would agree with that. Yeah, I was trying to look up some statistics, but it's not working for me right now.
But
Um,
Alabama's defense is unreal too. They played a lot better as well. They got off to a shaky start at first, but those linebackers, they're physical and they're good. So
right.
they'll be fine. I think, like I said at the beginning when we started this thing, that I had them in the playoff, and they're not going to fall off much. Now, Wisconsin's not a great football team. They showed that. But also, Bama, after how they played against South Florida, this was a tough game to have to go out and play on the road against a Power Four team, and they showed what they got. So they'll be fine.
Yeah, Alabama proved that they were for real yesterday. DeBoer proved that they're in it for the long haul. Um, something something interesting. Like I said at the beginning of this topic, you can play the what if game with Wisconsin. What if Van Dyke doesn't get hurt? Well, I think Van Dyke getting hurt deflates the entire Wisconsin team because they've set up their offense for him. And they've surrounded their offense. The hype all week was for Van Dyke to take over and to win. And so he gets hurt within the first 5 or 6 plays or within the first drive. And it deflates everything. It deflates everybody in the stadium, everybody on the team. And it's hard to regroup and rally around that when when your best player gets hurt. And then you bring in the backup quarterback and he can't. He looks like Peyton Thorne. The nerves got to him and he just wasn't what the Wisconsin needed them to be, and they became one dimensional. And when you become one dimensional against Alabama, you're not gonna win. It's Alabama's just built that way right now. If you got Nick Saban players, they're not that you become one dimensional, you're not you're not gonna win. And so you go down to the what if game. If Van Dyke stays in, that puts more pressure on the Alabama defense because they were driving while he was in there and they were doing well. And that puts pressure on Alabama to try and score, and they can get in their own head and get the nerves settled in. But once the air is taken out from the other sideline and you get all this confidence, you just run away with it like they did. Now, it very well could have ended up the same result, but you just can play the what if game right now. But I think Alabama wins that game easily. Couple other games to talk about this week, and then we'll get into some other things. Is Missouri as good as we thought they were?
I have Missouri in the playoffs. I did in my preseason stuff. I've been talking about this around campus a little bit with some of the guys and with Coach Fallbush. If we remember last year, Missouri, I mean, they had a good year, but they squeaked by a few teams. They had to kick like a 50-something yard bomb one time to win. They just barely snuck by some teams. Now, did they bring back a lot of offensive power? Yes. It's kind of tough to say Missouri's a playoff team. I don't think they're a top 10 team right now. I thought they did a really good job with with Boston College. Though. Boston College is a good football team. They got a really good quarterback. He's a gamer. He knows what he's doing. Very high IQ kid. But I would say I think that I was a little too high on him. But again, week 3 right now, I would like to see what they do in SEC play. I'll say to answer the question upright, no, I don't think they're as good as I thought they were going to be. But I'll also say this: they absolutely can still make the playoffs.
Yeah, they very well could. I think a 10-win season in the SEC gets you into the playoff. I'm under that belief system right now because anybody can lose at any time. I mean that loss to Northern Illinois by Notre Dame is gonna be tough to overcome when it comes to getting
Yeah, they
a
can't
higher
lose
seed.
again. Yeah,
Right, they can't lose again. And so looking at the stats from the Missouri game, Brady Cook 21 of 30 for 264 and a touchdown. Well, guess who had 117 of those yards? Luther Burden on
Luther
six
Bird.
receptions. Yeah, Luther Burden. And so Missouri running the ball, they only had three people run the ball between Nate Noel, he got 22 carries, and Marcus Carroll, I'm assuming is the backup. But Nate Noel had 121 yards on 22 carries. So uh, Luther Burden had the fumble. I mean, they scored. They had 3 touchdowns, and I'm only seeing 2 on the board. Anyway, they must have had a defensive touchdown. I didn't watch that game, to be honest with you. I couldn't care less about that game. All right. So one game that was very controversial over the weekend, and that's probably the game I watched the most of that was not the Auburn game was LSU and South Carolina. Did you watch much of that game? And if so, what were your takeaways?
Yeah, so Lenore Sellers is the quarterback at South Carolina. He's a freshman. He's really, really good. I think that they definitely made the right choice in picking him over Robbie Ashford to lead their offense. So, thing is, Robbie Ashford can't throw the ball. So their whole offense is straight up, you know, run the ball with him, run, run, run. So you sell it to the run, you stop their offense. And so that helped LSU out. It didn't help that the officials were bad. The officials were really bad. Um, it almost felt like the game was sold to LSU. Like LSU bought the win. Is kind of what it felt like. A lot of dumb calls, a lot of stupid officiating. Now, you know, if the quarterback doesn't get hurt, the officials don't matter. South Carolina may hang 50 points on LSU. Is what it felt like with how that kid was playing. So, my takeaway from it was LSU got lucky with a win there. Hopefully, the quarterback for South Carolina is good because if he's not, they're going to be in trouble. Because he just doesn't have it, unfortunately.
No, he doesn't. I think he played majority of the second half, and here's how his plays broke down. He was 2 for 4 in passing. He had 11 rushing attempts for 11 yards.
Yep,
Now his longest run was 15 yards, but I'm sure he got sacked a whole bunch of times. But I mean,
probably.
155 yards rushing compared to 280 receiving. Excuse me, 155 yards receiving compared to 285 for LSU. But they had 243 yards rushing.
Yeah,
Raheem Sanders had 143 yards, but Lenora Sellers had 88. Now all but 13 came from one run, his 75-yard run, which came out of nowhere, which was a
yeah,
huge spark because LSU had just scored and was gaining all that momentum back, and then he had that quick hitter, and um, there you go. But in LSU, South Carolina had 2 fumbles. I think they had an interception. Yeah, an interception. So 3 turnovers
yep,
is never going to win you a game unless the other team has more than that. But turnover battle, South Carolina lost. But here's the thing: they missed the field goal at the end of the game to tie the game, um, which hurt them in the long run. But I mean, you gotta be impressed with South Carolina because week 1 they almost lost to Old Dominion. Old Dominion has gone through the ringer these first 3 weeks,
yeah,
uh, and they're from right down the road here in Norfolk. Um, but they should have lost to Old Dominion, and that's why when the South Carolina played Kentucky, we were like, Yeah, Kentucky's going to wipe the floor with them, but Kentucky's not as good as we thought they were going to be.
No,
I don't think, or they just looked over South Carolina going getting ready for Georgia. That's the only way I can explain it, to go from week to week basis. And then they put up a good fight against LSU. Now LSU hung tough. I mean, they got down
yeah,
quickly, 17-0, and they battled back and ended up winning the game. So all credit to LSU there, but it's
for
tough.
sure.
It's tough to really know what's going on in college football this year.
Yeah, I agree. The LSU thing really is a lot went on Brian Kelly. A lot of them is like Brian Kelly's not that good of a coach. Welcome to the hot seat, Brian Kelly. Like if he doesn't win that game, people are going to start talking a lot. Fortunately for him, they've got a receiver by the name of Kyron Lacy, and he's one of the best, top five in the SEC, and he made his presence felt there late in that game. So he definitely helped. It wasn't like all officiating. I mean, LSU still had to get it done, and they did. But the two pick sixes that got called back because of penalties hurt South
Hmm.
Carolina, and so it's an unfortunate break for South Carolina. Good win for LSU, keeps them in the playoff contention. But I don't think they'll be in there at the end of the year.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I think it's going to be very tough. Um, Something quickly, and then we'll get to where we're at in our picks. No picks for week 3. We'll have picks for week 4, and we'll try our best to get them every week. At least if we can't get a podcast out the week, we'll at least try to get the picks out. Um, New rankings came out today for the college football. Normally that doesn't come out till Monday, so the fact that it's coming out Sunday evening or Sunday morning, I think is when this came out, is interesting. In the AP, uh, Texas
Whoa, what
took
is
over
happening? That's
Georgia.
awesome.
That's new. What in
Hook
the
'em
world?
horns.
We're staying in. Texas number 1, Georgia number 2. Those are the only thing in the top 5 that have changed. Ohio State still number 3, Alabama still number 4, and Ole Miss still number 5. Tennessee and Missouri swap places. Tennessee is now number 6, and Missouri is number 7. But I mean, literally the top 7, only one team is not from the SEC, from the Big Ten. That's crazy to think about, that there could potentially, if all 7 of them stay in the top 10, they could have, what feels like they could have 7 teams in the playoff. Honestly,
So it
if it
feels
wasn't
like,
for
yeah.
the if it wasn't for the guaranteed spots at the top 4, it very well could happen.
Yeah.
Uh, but in the coaches poll, I'm on ESPN.com. On the coaches poll, all the coaches who voted still have Georgia at number 1, and it's not even close in the voting.
Yeah, got to
Um,
beat him to overtake him.
yeah, that's the way I feel about it. Ohio State only played 2 games. I didn't even pay attention to that. Did they play this
In the
past
off
week?
week, no.
They have
Not
an
an off
off
week.
week on week 3.
Yeah.
That's Big Ten for you.
Yeah.
With 18, Big Ten with 18 teams. I'll never get over that. Yeah, but other than that, Miami moved up 2 spots and Penn State dropped 2 spots. Um, USC, they didn't play this week either, did they?
I don't believe they did, no.
So not really much change this
You
week,
can
which was
you can come in.
interesting.
Thanks, buddy. You're a goat. You're awesome, bro. Appreciate it.
uh,
More eagle to you.
Something interesting. Northern Illinois is number 23.
Amen. They earned it.
Number 23. Here's something that I think Nebraska is going to start using as bulletin board material. They're only 22. A lot of people, they're getting a lot of buzz right now because of how they dominated Colorado, and then they dominated yesterday. But a lot of people are saying that they're the team to beat in the Big Ten. What say you about Nebraska?
Well, they got Patrick Mahomes at quarterback. I mean, Dylan Raiola, even though he wants to be Patrick Mahomes. Um, they're good. I mean, Matt Rule has turned that program around just like we knew he would. He's done that everywhere he's went. Definitely not an NFL coach. He's a college coach. He proved that again. But he's got a good quarterback. They got a good offense. Their defense is a Big Ten defense. So 100% they could run the table in the Big Ten and be one of those teams that challenges at the top. I don't see them as a favorite, but I do think they're a really good football team, and I think that
Hmm.
they're going to be ranked higher as the weeks go. I don't think that they're ranked high enough yet, but also like we got to get past this whole ranked, how high are they ranked? Because when you didn't prove it the year before, we're not just going to put you there and then as soon as you win a couple games, throw you way up there. Because as big as the Colorado win is, Colorado's not that good of a football team,
Hmm.
or at least they weren't the first couple of weeks. They looked better yesterday against Colorado State, but they're not some team that you beat and you jump to number 17 in the country. So I
Yeah.
think that they could be ranked higher, but in all actuality, you shouldn't be mad at a 22 by your name, especially now in the playoff era. Like, who cares? But 22nd in the country is fine. Nebraska's a good football team. It'll be interesting to see how they keep rolling throughout the rest of the year.
Yeah, they've got a new hype video every week narrated by Will Compton, who played there and he
Yep.
played 10 years in the NFL. He's making it as a, I'm going to call him a social media influencer, but he's doing, it's hard not to get the chills running through.
Yeah.
Um, anyway, did you see Troy almost win or give Iowa a run for their money yesterday?
Yeah, Troy was up at halftime, and then Iowa took over in the second half. Troy's now 0-3.
Yeah,
So now,
tough.
I mean, think about who they've played, but they're 0-3. And it's
Yeah.
unfortunate. Um, really stinks for them. They pride themselves on being a successful Sun Belt team, but they're 0-3, same as Florida State. So
Yeah. Well, here's they got 24 yards rushing yesterday. You
yeah,
gotta have more than that. But they looks like they got a good receiver. He had 5 catches for 142 yards and 2 touchdowns.
yeah.
So I mean, they had
And
229
they had a
yards
punt
passing.
return for a touchdown too.
Yeah. So I think there's a lot of positive. And once they get in the Sun Belt, they'll be fine. And the Sun Belt play, they'll
Yeah,
be fine. But I thought it was awesome they were giving Iowa a good scare yesterday.
for sure.
Um, I came across that game. I was looking for the Colorado game.
28 to
Uh,
9 was that final score.
yeah, I don't understand what they're doing out at Colorado now. It's I'm starting to believe a lot of the headlines, a lot of the hit pieces that are going on about Dion because it seems to be the truth, in that it's nothing but a show. He's doing it nothing. The only reason he's at Colorado right now is not to develop a good program. He's there to promote his kids and Travis Hunter, and so it just does not look like he's there to build a program. What say you?
Um, I could get along with that too. I think he wants to win while he's there, but I'm afraid that when Shador and Travis get drafted in the first round this coming up year, that he'll move on and enjoy retirement and have fun doing what he does. Um, as much as I mean, I like Dion, or I did. It kind of sucks for him now, just because I don't like the way he runs his mouth. I've said that multiple times, but he's not going to change for anyone. He's been this loud, boisterous guy forever. Like, I understand you don't want to change, but you gotta chill out with all this arrogance. And he made a tweet the other day that really got to me. He said, "Christ was persecuted too, and I've been on the cross for a long time." And when you call yourself a man of faith and you talk about Jesus in your meetings and you talk about Jesus online, thank you God, thank you Lord, Jesus provides, the Lord provides, and then you go and you blaspheme the name of Jesus, like, you miss me with that. Don't compare yourself to God, but two, don't flaunt yourself as some big Christian and then completely blaspheme Jesus. Because that's exactly what he did. I, Jesus was prosecuted and persecuted too. I've been on the cross for a long time now. Like, just because somebody said that your son is not as good as you say he is and that you're not a good football coach, that's not persecution, bro. Like, your son's a good quarterback. You're an okay coach, but you're not being persecuted. You're not being killed. You're not being, nobody's coming after your life. Just because somebody disagrees with you or the way you coach your football team because you've lost like 14 games already in 2 years. Like, come on, man. And so that's what I have to say about it. And that's a different side of thing. That's a religious side of things. But if he'll just shut up, he'll be fine. They're only going to win 7 or 8 games again. Oh, again, they didn't even win that many last year, and they probably won't win that many this year. They could. I mean, they could win 7 games, but you're not going to get it. It's a two-man team because he's making it a two-man team.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I mean, the guy with the most receptions, and he had double whether any other receivers. Travis Hunter, he had 13
Yeah.
receptions. The next closest guy had 7.
Yeah, because that's what
Um,
they have to do to win the game. Like, he's got to get the ball.
right.
I'm not saying that's a bad thing that Shador and Travis Hunter are getting all these touches and all this and the ball so much. I'm saying the reason that it's just them two is because they're making it them two. Now, do
Yeah.
I think Travis Hunter should get 13 receptions? Absolutely. Like, get the ball in your best player's hands. But in the media, you don't hear about their running back. You don't hear about their other receivers. You don't hear about the offensive line unless they suck, unless they're bad. That's the only time you hear about anybody else other than Travis Hunter and Dion and Shador. You hear about Shiloh,
Yeah.
but he's hurt. So
Yeah. He shattered his arm against Nebraska after talking smack during the coin toss. I mean,
yeah,
I it, I get it promoting. I don't mind having the social media handle on the back of your jerseys at
oh yeah,
practice. I don't
that's
mind.
today.
I don't mind putting your kids in commercials. I don't mind that. That stuff doesn't bother me. What
No,
Shador did after the game with the quarterback from Colorado State, that's what I have a problem with. He went up to him and immediately, instead of just dapping him up and saying good game and just moving on, he started talking at him and pointing at him, and you can't bleep, bleep, bleep. No, that can't happen. And then to add on what you were talking about with Dion, Dion, I don't think he has a realistic view of who Jesus Christ is and a realistic view of the Bible. I don't think he does, and I think he's
no.
spreading a false gospel around the world, but he's using his massive platform, and I think he's spreading a false gospel, and it's not going to turn out well for him. So I don't think it's going to end up well for him. I think he'll probably be fired here in the next year unless he turns something around
I think
and
he'll
gets some
quit.
consistent. That's a real possibility too. Once his sons move
They're not going
on,
to fire him if he leaves there. It's because he quit.
I don't know, dude. If you keep it, there's only so much backlash universities can take, especially in places like Colorado. There's
Yeah,
only so much they can take before they say I've had enough. Let's find someone else that will get. I mean, yes, Dion brought us our money. We're now competitive in the money with money. We've got the donors. We've got the publicity. Okay, we can do this. We've got our notoriety back. Let's go get us a winning football coach. Dion's not a winning football coach. He can be at the FBS level or whatever Jackson State is, but he's not going to be winning at the Big 12 now. He's just not going to do it because his mentality is me, money, face. Let me get my name and get these players' names out there instead of building it. Unless he gets consistency and gets good coaches around him instead of hiring his buddies, he's not going to be a winning coach.
yeah, I agree. Um, I do think that by quit, I mean I do think he'll be out after this year. I don't think he just like. There's no reason to stick around other than for his sons, and his son will be gone. And so I don't think that he'll be there next year. I think he may have told them that. That's probably why he hasn't been fired, to be honest. But I mean, I wanted like I was pulling for him when he got there, but to act like everybody's out to get you, it's just like the people that want you to win, they're gonna want you to win, and the people that don't want you to win are not gonna want you to win. It's every place. Do you know how many people didn't want Nick Saban to win? And Nick Saban's not out there going, people are coming after me, poor me. Nick Saban just went out and won football games. It's a different mentality because they're two different people, two different coaches, two different men. Character,
Right.
man,
Well, it's a
character.
character thing. You're right. It's 100% a character
You can't
thing.
be you don't see, and he was one of the greatest athletes ever. Dion was on the football. Like I understand that, but when you get to coaching, the loud, boisterous, prideful, arrogant coaches aren't the ones that win all the time.
Mm-mm.
Bill Belichick, Nick Saban, I mean, Urban Meyer, when he was at Florida, he wasn't flaunting around. Now, he did flaunt around and do stuff with women that he shouldn't do, but on the other hand, with it being arrogance and running your yap all the time, he didn't do it. Kirby Smart doesn't do it. Dabo Sweeney, he yaps, but not about that. Like, it's different. These guys that have won, the character's different. And I'm not saying that Dion doesn't have character. I'm just saying he's just a different dude. Yeah.
His
I'm
focus
I'm
is
good with
wrong.
moving on after that for sure.
His focus is wrong. One more point on that, and then we'll move on. His focus is wrong. He goes to the press conferences instead of talking football. He's like, "Well, why are y'all talking to me? You don't even like me. I saw what you wrote in the paper about me the other day. Now see how I handle it. Is if I don't like it, I ain't gonna talk about it. I ain't even gonna pay attention to it." And then he gets mad and he talks to the reporters about what they're doing instead of what he's doing and how he can make it better. So
Yep,
he's like a politician that way, but it's always been that way with Dion. So uh, we shouldn't expect anything different.
for
Okay,
sure.
didn't mean to get off on that, but I don't apologize for it. Um, let's address our picks, and then we will get on with our picks at a later time. So week 2 picks, we had Arkansas versus Oklahoma State. We both picked Oklahoma State to win. So congratulations to us. And then we had Georgia Tech versus Syracuse. We both picked Georgia Tech to win, but Syracuse won, so it was one
And I
on one
told
there.
you that I thought Syracuse was going to win that football game. I
Then
told you
why
that.
then why didn't you pick them?
Cause, bro, yeah, I don't know. I just don't know ball really. Apparently not. I like Kyle McCord though. Syracuse look good. I'm not gonna lie to you. They look good.
I think he's a better quarterback than people give him credit for. I think people at Ohio State were too critical of him, but that's just
Yeah.
me.
Well,
Uh, and
Georgia
then
Tech
we
was
had
an L.
Nebraska versus Colorado. We both picked Nebraska to win, so the 2-1 there. And then Kansas versus Illinois. You had Kansas, I had Illinois, and Illinois won that game. Put
Came
them in the
back to win
top
that game.
25. Yeah. Um, I forget the guy Bielema. I think is who that
Yeah,
is.
Brett Bielema.
Yeah, I don't like him.
Neither
He
do
was
I.
when he was at Nebraska. He was heavily critical of the SEC. He came to the SEC and ruined Arkansas. And so he's doing all right at Illinois, but he can stay in Illinois and never come back to the South ever again. And then and then the Mississippi State versus Arizona State. We both had Mississippi State winning.
SEC
Arizona,
bias.
yeah, that's what that was. Arizona State won by nine, I think. And then Memphis versus Troy. We both had Memphis winning, so that was a win for us. And then Baylor versus Utah. Both had Utah winning, so win for us. And then Iowa State versus Iowa. You had Iowa. I had Iowa State. Iowa State won by 1. I
They
think
had
on
to
a
come
missed
back to
field
do
goal.
it.
They came back to do it, but they still won. I think it was
Yep.
on a missed field goal by Iowa there at the end of the game as well. And then South Carolina versus Kentucky. But based on the Week 1 performance, we both thought Kentucky was going to win. Uh,
They did
and,
not.
and they did not. They got dog walked by South Carolina. And then Michigan State versus Maryland. We both had Maryland win, and Michigan State won that game. I didn't pay attention to it.
Surprisingly.
Yeah, and then for this game, I picked NC State just to be contrary to you, but Tennessee just whooped all over them. Tennessee is the
Tennessee
real
looks
deal.
really good. Yes.
Tennessee is the real deal right
Unfortunately.
now. Yeah, unfortunately,
Because I live here. I live here. And
oh
it's rough.
yeah, that Prison Orange is showing up in full force this year. It's actually I've seen
Amen.
a lot of Tennessee fans up here lately. The Prison Orange is showing up in great force right now. It's like the insane asylums have been let loose.
And
Um, I picked NC State to win. NC State's not looking as good as I thought they were. They struggled
McCall
yesterday. They
got
were
hurt.
down. That's true. McCall got hurt, but they struggled yesterday. They came back and ended up winning against Louisiana Tech.
Yep.
But I had NC State, you had Tennessee, and Tennessee won. And then we had Texas and Michigan. We both picked Texas to win.
And I picked Texas to cover, which they did.
Yeah, I didn't care about anything about covering. I'm straight up winning because if I start gambling and betting, I'm gonna get hooked and I'll become a degenerate
Oh, I
gambler.
don't I don't
Um,
bet. I just like to talk about it. But yeah, I know.
uh,
I would be the same way.
so anyway, um, so for the day or for week 2, I went 7-5. You went 6-6 on the year so far for the 2 weeks that we've picked. I am 9-9, and you are 8-10. That first week did us in because we both went 2-2 and 4 that week.
Yeah.
So pretty tough weeks there.
We'll bounce back.
We'll bounce back though. Probably next episode we'll try to talk a little more baseball if we've got the time. We may do
And the NFL.
and the NFL. A lot's going down in the NFL, but this is college
Crazy
football heavy.
start.
We had to catch up on everything that we missed. But crazy start to the NFL season. It'll even be crazier next time we get there. So NFL, baseball, and obviously a little college football. We'll try to cram it all into one episode or to multiple smaller episodes. So we're not wasting all of your time. But we appreciate you guys watching, sticking around with us. Please like and subscribe, share with everybody. We're going to try and get some guests on here soon and make us a little more valid, I guess you could say. But please share your friends, share, like, comment, give us your opinions. We've had some people give us our opinions. We tried to reply as much as we could, or as much as I can. But we busy people going on. Eli, anything else you want to say?
Just thanks for the support. We're going to try to be a little bit better about getting this stuff out. Life happens, though. Hopefully, y'all are enjoying it. Hit us with your feedback. Going to try to bring more energy on this, but I'm exhausted. So, thanks for watching. Hopefully, Auburn pulls out a win. I'll be in Jordan-Hare on Saturday. I'll be in the Duck Friday night to watch Auburn High. I'm pumped. I'm going to take Easton with me. Jacob's going to go down there with us, and we're going to have a fun time. So, going to be glad to be back in Alabama for a little while, but we're getting started with basketball tomorrow. Practice, number 1, Welch College.
Let's go.
Let's get it done.
Let's go.
But thanks again, guys.
Yeah, I'll be at Upward Soccer on Saturday, making sure
rest
everything
in
runs
peace, buddy.
smoothly there. Yeah, that's what I do in the falls. Saturday mornings. Could be watching College Game Day, but instead I'm at Upward Soccer. But we're not complaining. It's where the Lord has
We
us.
froze.
So, yeah, I need to address the headset. My microphone wasn't working well earlier, so I just threw on my gaming headset. But hopefully it sounds fine. Appreciate you guys watching. We will see y'all next week, Lord willing.
All right.
Peace.
See ya.